What is happening? What is going on? We'll try to figure out here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. It's an emergency podcast. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Download the app today and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. It's an emergency podcast. The White Sox have announced a long-term ownership investment agreement. I was driving to work, getting ready to put together a CHGO wrestling pod, and really, 5 minutes before I pull up, this bomb drops. I had to run up the stairs. I realized how out of shape I was, and I really not been able to grasp my idea or my head around what's going on. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. What we're about here on CHGO Sports is not missing the big moments for you diehard fans. We have a diehard Discord where our pal Corey has been asking questions. We'll get to Corey's questions in just a second. But if you are looking for diehard sports coverage, we have you covered for every single team here in Chicago. Let's get into the big news. Every White Sox beat reporter has clipped the press release they've gotten to the White Sox, so I will just read you the press release from the White Sox, and we'll try to understand it word by word. The Chicago White Sox today announced that Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishbia have reached a long-term investment agreement that establishes a framework for Ishbia to obtain a future controlling interest in the White Sox. As a part of the agreement, Ishbia will make capital infusions into the White Sox as a limited partner in 2025 and 2026 that will be used to pay down existing debt and support ongoing team operations. The agreement provided that from 2029 to 2023, Reinsdorf will have the option to sell the controlling interest to Ishbia. After the 2034 season, Ishbia will have the option to acquire the controlling interest. In the event of any such future transaction, all limited partners of the White Sox would have the opportunity to sell to Ishbia at that time. In addition to Ishbia, his brother Matt Ishbia and father Jeff Ishbia will also be significant investors. There is no assurance that any such future transaction will occur, and in no event will such transaction take place before 2029. Until such time, the Reinsdorf family will continue to own the controlling interest in the White Sox. Reinsdorf, chairman of the White Sox, since purchasing the franchise in 1981, remains the sole day-to-day decision maker for the club. It shows. Jerry has a quote. Having the incredible opportunity to own the Chicago White Sox and be a part of Major League Baseball for nearly 50 years has been a life-changing experience. I have always expressed my intent to operate the White Sox as long as I am able and remain committed to returning the franchise to the level of on-field success we all expect and desire. And then they give credits to their financial and legal advisors. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. One question that is immediate right there is it's on the bottom. Christian Bernardo saying, what debt do the White Sox have? All of the years of low payroll didn't help. I don't know exactly. The one thing that I will say is I don't know exactly how Reinsdorf has dealt out the debt that CHSN has taken on. He's launching a network project or an entire project. So I don't know what that looks like, if that's a part of the White Sox debt. I could not tell you. I don't know what the debt is. The one thing that took the Ishbias off the scent of the Twins was how much debt the Pohlad family had. I think that it's possible that there's healthy amount of debt. So maybe it's just a partial amount of debt that they just don't want transferring over at all. I'm not a business person. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a business person. So that's my best guesstimate. And that's the best I could give you is a guesstimate. But make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Jeff Go saying something, can Jerry trip down the stairs? Let's cool it a little bit. What we wanted has happened, okay? And I understand that the past 2 years have been really terrible. And if you look at the entire 40 plus years of Jerry Reinsdorf ownerships, there's definitely been a sore taste in White Sox fans' mouth. Thankfully, not the sourest taste, because we do have one thing to celebrate. I'm not, again, trying to say that 1 year outweighs the other 40, but I do believe that part that Jerry says, I've always expressed my intent to operate the White Sox as long as I'm able to and remain committed to returning this franchise to the level of on-field success we all expect and desire. I believe that he just understands that baseball is not a profitable business anymore. I don't think that he wants to be in baseball anymore. He scratched his itch of being an owner for 50 years, and I think that he has come to the realization that he is not a fit owner. Now, you could probably argue, should he have been an owner 40 years ago? That's a completely different discussion, but he had the money and made a pretty good investment and will be making a ton of money once this happens. The specific wording that we need to get into is, as a part of the agreement, Ishbia will make capital infusions into the White Sox as a limited partner in 2025 and 2026. That isn't too out of the question, especially with his increased limited capacity. There was always talk as well that if he was going to, the Ishbias, contribute to a new stadium, that the handoff would have to happen. So I think the real reason why this is happening right now is because of the 78 announcement from the Chicago Fire. That seemed to be like Jerry's big piece of leverage. It didn't seem like he had any interest in moving the White Sox out of Chicago. If he was going to do that, that was happening in the 80s. He was going to go to Tampa Bay's already built ballpark. He doesn't really want to F around and just find a brand new city to move a team to, and will Major League Baseball even allow him to move that team? He doesn't want to jump through all those hoops. He seems pretty committed to keeping baseball in Chicago. I think the Ishbias are committed to keeping baseball in Chicago. So if you did have any worries that baseball won't be on the South Side, I wouldn't have that worry. I think the biggest thing that does stick out to me is the agreement provides from 2029 to 2023 that Reinsdorf will have the option to sell controlling interest to Ishbia. I think Jerry Reinsdorf wants to own the team as long as he possibly can. I think that he's understanding, though, at 89 years old, come 2033, hey Joey, is that the 100th year anniversary of the All-Star game? Weird.
It might just be.
I think that Jerry Reinsdorf has a pretty big milestone that he'd like to reach, and if he gets past that milestone, I don't think he wants to be unrealistic about the time that he has left in the world. It seems like Jerry Reinsdorf does love and appreciate baseball, and he's always been interested. I think back in 2012, he said that he wanted to have the 100th anniversary on the South Side of Chicago because it was first held in the South Side of Chicago in 1933, the first ever Midsummer Classic. So I think that might be Jerry's goal. But the biggest thing, when at least you're talking about Jerry falling down the stairs, whoever that said earlier, until the time, the Reinsdorf family will continue to own the controlling interest in the White Sox. So even if Jerry passes from 2029 to 2033, it is not certain that the Reinsdorf family will not control this team until 2033. So you're really trying to figure out what this means. Does this mean Justin Ishbia is going to run this ship anytime soon? No transition will occur until 2029. But the biggest thing that we've been talking about is the increased limited capacity for the Ishbias. Matt Spiegel of 670 The Score recently gave out true numbers of the limited partners, and the Ishbias now control around 40%. The Reinsdorf family, mainly Jerry's kids, I think owns around 25%. Jerry was around 20%, and then there's limited partners. What didn't happen in that sale was any controlling interest being sold. My whole skepticism, but my theory is in 1981, before the typical Major League Baseball ownership structure was set up, was that Jerry Reinsdorf and Eddie Einhorn went into business together as controlling partners. And they set up the stakes as, we will make the day-to-day operations starting in 1981, and then we'll allow our fellow business partners to get in on the action at a smaller, limited capacity where, they'll reap our benefits, but they'll still provide, services. I think we've gotten the report that one of those services is someone who owns a security business has a piece of ownership or had a piece of ownership in the White Sox. And if you're wondering, hey, why does the security suck at right field? Well, it's because the owner has a stake in the actual ownership company or security company. I think that's what the whole idea was. But Jerry has never sold the controlling interest. And when Einhorn died, I believe that he got that piece of controlling interest. So there's two pieces of controlling interest that Jerry Reinsdorf has. Christian also saying the lease ends in 2029. Coincidence, not a coincidence. My pal Alex Root had that same kind of epiphany, and I didn't realize it would be happening today. This entire news. So no, that's not a coincidence. But the weird wording here is the agreement that establishes a framework for Ishbia to obtain a future a future controlling interest, not the. So I don't want to like get too excited because it doesn't say that Ishbia will be the owner. And then when it says Ishbia will have the option in 2033 to acquire the controlling interest. So like they could have about a 50-50 share, I think, in that 2029 to 2033 span. It's not really until 2034 until Justin Ishbia, I think, or the Ishbias, Matt and their father Jeff included. I don't think it will be until 2034 when the Ishbias will be the owners. Because I think that in 2029, what the Reinsdorf family is saying is, we want to keep you around. We don't want to keep you on the hook for 2026, 2027, 2028. We'll give you pretty much the reverse Eddie Einhorn. We'll give you half a share, and then in 2034, you could become the head honcho. So this is laying pretty much a 9-year groundwork to lead to the Ishbias taking control, but that control won't even be like a linear snap. The Reinsdorfs will control up until 2029. Till 2029 to 2033, there's definitely a hazy future, but I think the Reinsdorfs will still be involved until 2033, and then it's not until 2034 we'll have the entire takeover. But as Christian's saying, the lease ends in 2029. It's definitely not a coincidence. Jerry Reinsdorf has mentioned wanting the 100th All-Star game on the South Side. I think he always wanted it at a brand new stadium. Sox have the 5th oldest stadium in Major League Baseball. It's not outdated in any way, but I think this is laying the groundwork to them getting rid of debt, and you're wondering why. I think it's to then take on more debt to build a stadium. So if I had to theorize, I think in 2034, the Ishbias will own the White Sox and have a new South Side-based stadium. So I know you'll have to wait 9 years, but if you're a 28-year-old, that's not that long, you know? I'll still be under 40. Yay!
All right.
Joe, you'll be under 60? Will you have Medicare yet?
No promises, Sean.
Oh,
no promises.
Who knows?
No, you're hitting it on the head. Don't you feel like that the 2029 to 2034 provides them a financial flexibility where they're in a business relationship and it all probably ties itself to that new stadium?
Well, and I think what it also helps them do is it gets some, at least, piece of that stadium. I think the Reinsdorfs moving out of ownership at least want to get not only the sell of ownership, but at least some other cash flow, at least from the White Sox, because you see them building what they're building in the, just a couple blocks away over by the United Center. The 1939 project, I cannot remember what it's actually called. But they're taking on this big real estate project over on the United Center.
Yeah, just down the street.
Like, I don't think that the Reinsdorfs' future, business plans, Michael and the other son, I think that that's leading to more real estate plays. The 78 is a real estate play, but they don't have to take on the brunt of that actual debt. And I think they're just going to try to get, percentage of whatever that is.
There's a lot to cover. We got a break coming up in just a minute or so, Sean. One of the questions, though, that I'm now thinking of, and I want White Sox fans maybe to weigh in on the chat, and I want your opinion on this too, is what does this possibly now mean, not for this year and probably not next year, but 2027, 2028, and 2029 kind of turn into pivotal years now in terms of valuation. If we are going to be handing the keys over to new ownership, what does that all mean?
And thank you to Corey and Mario for the 1901 project. That's what they're doing over on Madison. What was the actual question? I'm sorry.
Well, the question was
ADHD.
It's okay. On the other side
SOB.
of the break is I'm not saying anything about this year. I'm not saying anything about next year, but 2027, 2028 now turn into kind of pivotal years for this White Sox franchise in terms of the valuation of the franchise as it is possibly handed over to the Ishbia family, a.k.a. is there maybe money coming? Probably not next year, but the year after that, there might be more pressure, more of an incentive now to spend money on the actual product on the field than ever now. And you might not have to wait till 2029 until the White Sox start doing that. I know, but the
one thing that does help is that, again, you have to believe Jerry Reinsdorf. Good luck, but maybe this is a Mike Ilitch thing. Maybe he'll want to go out with a huge shebang. If he knows that his time's going to be done in 2029 or 2034, if he has an end date, maybe he's able to willing to be spend a little bit and try to go for that one last hurrah. Maybe this is the final push in the next 9 years to get one more championship as an owner for Jerry Reinsdorf. There could be some positive spin. I'm also going because it seems like they're paying off debt to focus on real estate rather than the actual payroll. I mean, it's a sports franchise in the third largest market. It is valuable. They could suck on the field for the next 9 years, not pay any payroll, and focus all of that on real estate. That's the other side of the coin, is that, maybe they're not even motivated to spend. They're just motivated to make money. Hit that thumbs up button. We have to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Corey had some questions in our Die Hard Discord, so we'll get to that in a second. He's now asking the same question in the YouTube chat, which is great. Let's get into our first break. We want to let you know about our friends over at Bet365. Download the app today and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Bet $5 and get $150 whether your bet wins or loses. When you are a new customer using code CHGO365. If you think the Sox are going to win tonight on this great news against the Tigers, I guess not tonight, it's at 110, go take them on the money line. And if the Sox take a 5-0 lead, a 6-1 lead, a 5-run lead in general, your bet automatically cashes out if you bet the money line or if you put them in a parlay selection. That half of the parlay or whatever cashes out. They are our great friends over at Bet365. Celebrate them being live in Illinois by downloading that app today, using code CHGO365. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets, and you can bet that on props, futures, anything that your heart desires over at Bet365. Download that app today. I need to get the actual end wrap up. Oh, God, I don't have it. Download Bet365 today. Our friends over at Bet365 are great. Oh boy. This is a good bit. We were told to cut down all of our ads, and I don't have a single Bet365 app. This is good. Download the app today. If you need
we love it.
Counseling, download 1-800-GAMBLER. This is the worst read we've ever done. All right, let's bury it. Let's go to Empire. Our friends over at Empire are your friends if you need help with your flooring. My friend Jake, or not my friend, my cousin Jake works at a big box store. He knows nothing about flooring. One day he's working in flooring. One day he's working at the self-checkout. One day he's working at paint. If you catch him on the day that he's working in flooring, he will not be able to help you pick out the right floors for your home. He's not an expert in flooring. And then once Jake doesn't help you picking out those floors, he won't be able to help you install. You'll have to call a buddy, and that will just go down a terrible, terrible route. Call the experts over at Empire today. Our experts over at Empire can help you pick the right flooring for your home with a free in-home estimate. Yes, the word free in-home estimate, because things are better at home. You could have the experts over at Empire help you with their curated selection, and then they'll have experts actually install that flooring for you. Floors can last a very, very long time, especially mainly if you do them right. And the friends over at Empire can do them right. You get a $350 off discount when using promo code CHGO. A $350 off discount when using code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. 588-2300 Empire Today.
Michael Jordan basketball.
Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. And we are back here on the Bet365 Emergency Podcast as Jerry Reinsdorf has now laid the groundwork to Justin Ishbia selling. I think we'll get into Corey's questions now. The first one being, how does this recent development possibly impact whether or not the Sox build a new stadium? I think it's highly likely. I think that a big reason Jerry Reinsdorf was able to get the Ishbias to abandon the Twins pursuit is the Twins have a very brand new ballpark. They have a ton of debt, and there isn't a new stream of revenue for that team to tap into. I don't think Joe Mansueto, a guy that is a self-made billionaire, is just going to throw $650 million at a stadium project and not think it will return anything. I think that the Ishbias, especially being massive players in the real estate business, they're, I believe, they're not Quicken Loans. They're the other loan service. Can't think of the loan service at this point. They're in the mortgage business. They have a massive amount of capital. They have a massive amount of ability to create real estate and build from the ground up. So I think Reinsdorf possibly, as he's tapped into this want to sell, we heard the Dave Stewart rumors. I think that he was able to likely pitch the Ishbias on building their own site. There is some public money, but it doesn't seem like the Illinois government, mainly J.B. Pritzker, is interested in giving sports teams, billionaires, any help in building these projects that they can't afford. So it's more about getting somebody that can build this project. And again, what I think Reinsdorf's the entire family is trying to lay out is getting a piece of this pie. They understand that this is going to be something that makes money. And if they can have somebody pretty much take on the brunt of making that money, paying off their debt, I think that this is the way that you see a new stadium gets built. I don't know if they took the boat ride down the 78 and that's what sold Justin Ishbia. But I think, to mention that, we could put on my city cruise captain
all aboard.
All aboard. Yeah, I don't know if that's what sold them with Harold Baines and Rod Kittle, just yapping about the 80s in their ear. But maybe they did see the idea of building and, propping up a brand new neighborhood in the heart of downtown Chicago, an untapped portion of land. And if you have somebody already pushing money like Mansueto is, the $650 million, there is enough room to have two sport complexes. Now it's mainly about Mansueto and the Ishbias working on their relationship and having that work. I don't think the 78 people are against two massive sports teams being a part of this building and part of this complex. But I do wonder if Mansueto, being the first to call dibs, as the Fire social media put out, I don't know if he really wants that land to himself. I think it would be foolish for him not to welcome in the Sox into that massive neighborhood, because again, you're trying to get people to move to that neighborhood. Unfortunately, that's going to mean Bridgeport and the surrounding neighborhoods of 35th and Shields are just going to suffer more, because you're just taking all of that revenue from 35th and Shields and just moving it, a little northeast, which, is obviously going to be a huge setback to that entire city that has been built for 125 years around a baseball team being there. So it's good and bad news, because the White Sox are getting capital investment. The White Sox are getting people that are going to truly flush this franchise with money. I am a little concerned about the Ishbias in general. We do have in the ALLCITY network people that work over at PHNX who have seen Matt's ownership in Phoenix. It's a little bit different, NBA versus MLB, because you have a payroll in the NBA, and they are completely maxing out their payroll. They are paying Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant a ton of money and didn't get any results. But along with that, the Suns have had some pretty tough HR and PR looks, some pretty...
It's been a bumpy first 5 years owning
good.
the Phoenix Suns, is the best way to say it.
Racist allegations, some sexual assault allegations, some weird power structure allegations, even with the Phoenix Mercury. There hasn't been good responses so far from Matt Ishbia's ownership. Not saying that that's going to happen with Justin. Justin could be a completely different person, but Matt is a part of this. I do think, though, what you've seen from the Suns is they're very, very aggressive. The Ishbias seem to be very, very aggressive. Matt was a former basketball player at Michigan State, so I think his love of basketball has kind of pushed that push in Phoenix specifically. Maybe he has gotten a little bit too over his skis in that pursuit. Justin seems to be a little bit more scaled back, but he's also taking up, I think, about an entire town's worth of lakefront to build his massive mansion that has taken 3 years and a ton of city clearance for them to even start building. These are people with some pretty bold dreams and some big pockets. So I do think that they want to make a mark on the city. So that's why I do think that a stadium will get built, is that these are people in the real estate game that seemingly want to make their impact or their mark on the world. And I think that they might see that as the 78 putting a ballpark that has that skyline view. Because everyone has tried to picture that. You have that actual picture at 35th and Shields, I believe on the north side of the park, where you can see the actual skyline, and you're like, man, why didn't they just put that in center field? With all the fireworks after a home run, couldn't you just picture it? I think Justin Ishbia started to picture it, and I think the Ishbia started to picture what they can make their legacy, because they seem like a family that cares about legacy. I like to be able to have McDonald's, and I can't wait to have McDonald's after the show.
Well, and to be very fair, when we're talking about Justin Ishbia and what he's trying to do, when you put in an above-ground pool, when you get that Christmas bonus and you finally put in the above ground pool, there's a lot that goes into that, Sean.
And to that too, like right now we have the above ground pool, right? And then our neighbors in Baltimore built the in-ground pool. And now we want the infinity in-ground pool that is on the 78th floor of a high rise.
Last year our baseball product was floating in the pool. Yeah.
And Jeff Go said, I would rather owners spend and lose than owners spend nothing and lose. Yes. That's what everyone wants. I don't understand how you have billions and billions of dollars. I think if you looked at my checking account right now, I'd have under $100. That's, ADHD and poor financial planning. I'm not, whining here. But it's unfathomable the amount of money that billionaires have. And the fact that Jerry Reinsdorf isn't even on the level of the Ishbias, like this is absolutely game changing. I think they would be the second, that have the second largest net worth in all of baseball behind Steve Cohen. So they don't have the Dodgers TV money, which has been able to propel that team to the $765 million payroll they currently have. But Steve Cohen's been very, very aggressive. Like, I think that at least in 2034, you're talking about being actual players in free agency. And now that they're actually going to be contributing in 2026 and 2027, if they give a product that's interesting enough, the Ishbias, I think, could be talked into spending on a future game-changing free agent. I think the main payroll part is going to be led up to the Reinsdorfs. I think they're still going to take on the brunt of the actual, money of the year-to-year operations until 2029. But again, part of the debt thing as well was, sorry, I want to make sure that I get it right. Pay down debt and support ongoing team operations. Team operations being baseball stadium that they're likely going to build, but also, I mean, it could mean free agent acquisitions if they are in the process of taking over. So we all are kind of wondering, like, what's in it for Justin Ishbia? What's in it for the Ishbias? Because they're just now limited partners. You now know what's in it for the Ishbias. They, I think now, over the next 9 years, before they take over in 2034, want a ballpark that they can have a nice ribbon-cutting ceremony at.
Well, and as you mentioned, talking about Steve Cohen, this is new money. This is new blood. And if we've seen anything, especially in Major League Baseball over the last 5 to 10 years, there are a lot of these incredibly rich owners coming in and having a lot more interest in spending on the on-field product than some of these older legacy owners have had. And what also is interesting, I mean, this is a byproduct for another time, but like with the labor like possible stoppage happening in the next couple of years, I wonder what Jerry's role is going to be that in that one specifically. And then the other one is, we have to take a break in a minute. I also want you to ponder this one question.
Yes.
Again, not probably next year, but the year after that. What do you think the chances are on a scale of 1 to 100 that Jerry would actually go out there and say, I want to win one more before I give up the team?
Jared said that he was told by Sox PR that Reinsdorf isn't going to talk today, but maybe in the near future. I don't think it's impossible. Like this, I think that he scratched the itch of winning a World Series, so I don't know how much of a desire it is for him. I think that the main thing is him being a pretty good businessman. But like, if Chris Getz could build an intriguing proposition, I don't think he would be talked out of it. So if I had put like 1 to 100, I'd put 25 because I'm glass quarter full. But I think that most White Sox fans look like it would be 10%. And we do have some people say Ishbia won't save anything. Possibly true. Again, like what we want is good baseball operations. The Brewers and Rays have been able to make the playoffs consistently over and over again. You can have owners that don't spend anything and still make the playoffs. So this isn't just an ownership problem. Having money, though, that they'll spend is going to be game-changing. Again, like, they won't change anything. They won't save the town, but this is one of two franchises that have never spent over $100 million on a free agent. And Jerry Reinsdorf struck Major League Baseball from having a season in 1994 when his team was good, when Frank Thomas was going to be winning the MVP, struck them from having a chance to win the World Series to then lower pay player salaries all around the league, just to, when the league came back up, give Albert Bell the largest contract ever. And I think it was
Jamie Navarro.
I think it was 6 years, $66 million, which is like $9 million less than the largest contract they've ever spent. Like, he's got the money, folks. So yeah, I I don't think that they'll save anything, but they'll definitely bring a new energy. And that's what this White Sox team and franchise needs. We'll get to more questions in just a second. We have to take another break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We have over 200 people watching. I would really appreciate if you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. You obviously don't need to buy anything from our partners or advertisers.
It's just one little like.
It is free entertainment. We're here chatting with you. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. We want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside. Man, when I get home, it's going to be a nice time to kick up my feet, maybe spark something, and really relax and recline after this day. Some pretty crazy news. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, and Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Whether you're in Wrigleyville, River North, Champaign, South Beloit, Elmwood Park, Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary and has a location for you. So head over to sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify for 50% off your first 3 online purchases. And if you are an existing user, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Lab brand item. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Mando. I'm not sweating because I am covered head to toe in our friends over at Mando. It's a whole body deodorant that's safe to use anywhere on your body. And what makes it unique is it was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. You could choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. The one that I haven't tried, weirdly enough, as the Irish boy I am, is the clover woods one. I've loved the bourbon leather. Love the Mount Fuji.
Just sitting there for you.
Love the Pro Sport. It's just sitting for me. I got to go try that out. You could try it out, too, if you haven't yet, with Mando's Starter Pack, which is perfect for new customers. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Use code CHGO at shopmando.com for $5 off your starter pack. That's 40% off your first starter pack at SHAO. Oh, no, that's not how you spell shop. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell Mando we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We do want to also let you know, or go back to Corey's questions. Would Ishbia look to take a note from the fire and privately finance a stadium? I think that's the future of most sporting complexes. You can look in Kansas City, a team that would absolutely, this is a team that has Patrick Mahomes and just won, 3 Super Bowls, and they're denying public support to these sports franchises. So I think that private funding is the way of the future, because there'll still be ways that governments will be able to help and subsidize, these projects. I mean, it's still going to take $10 million to subsidize Mansueto's project. It's just going from $1.1 billion in what Reinsdorf was projecting for his subsidies. So it's just about making it more chewable for politicians. And then Corey also says, has there been any indication on how Ishbia would change the front office structure in terms of drafting, development, scouting, or any off-the-field changes? No, and honestly, Chris Getz has 9 years to figure it out. If Chris Getz is able to build a intriguing enough team and is able to build out the Dominican complex that they're currently fleshing out, and they're able to expand their horizons in Japan, in Cuba, the Dominican, Venezuela, they're able to be better at international scouting, drafting, development. Already in those next 9 years, they might just keep him around. It depends on the job that Chris Getz does. So that's funny. I'm surprised that this is the one that's getting called that and not this. Anyways.
Got some fashion aficionados here in the chat. It's just a hat.
It's because we're talking about cruises.
We're setting sail for brighter shores here.
I think that I think that that's just a little bit too far in advance, because I think the Sox, at least with drafting and development, they're getting there-ish. Like the first round picks have turned into something. Crochet, Schultz, Smith, interesting. Colson could be interesting. I just don't think it's close enough to that time to see if Ishbia will change the front office. Are there any other questions, Joe? We got 89 likes. Appreciate all you hanging out. 250 watchers. Love you guys. You guys are the best.
Honestly, I think this one might be leader in the clubhouse right now for comment of the day. El Camino Mas Largo Brewing. In true White Sox fashion, let me be the first to say, sell the team, Justin.
Perfect.
We're primed.
We're primed. I just think that this means. I just think that this means the world for White Sox fans. It gives you hope and a future that you may have to put up with some BS for the next couple of years. But in the large majority, like, to win one in Major League Baseball is extremely tough in a 50-year span. So while it hasn't been a perfect run for Jerry Reinsdorf, while obviously he could have spent more on this baseball team, there is 2005. And as we put out that all-quarter century team, that is never going to be forgotten. And people still want to defend Scott Podsednik and trading for Scott Podsednik and getting rid of Carlos Lee, because apparently that matters in 2025. But in the breadth of 1981 to probably 2029, Reinsdorf was a fine owner. It really tailed off there at the end, but I think that this team was also supposed to look a lot different in 2023, 2024, and 2025. So I don't really want to blame Jerry for this current iteration of the team because, actually I should. My bad. He hired all the people, kept them around for a very long time. I'm getting a little too nice.
Well, I mean, we're
in this situation. So let me not get off my.
That's the problem. Is I've been a White Sox fan for a long time. I thought the '90s were incredibly competitive. Obviously, in the 2000s, they got the World Series out of it, and plenty of over 500 teams that won 84 to 88 games. There's a lot worse, trust me, in baseball in terms of franchises. It's just really been those last 15 years when he had to tear it down, start over, move on from the Kenny Williams era. It had to really suck for a couple years. They built it back up. 2020 happens, and then honestly, that team just didn't cash in. That team was, to quote Donnie Brasco, a fugazi, right? And now we have to do it all over again. And I think these events have kind of led towards this moment of him no longer probably going to be the owner of the Chicago White Sox, maybe by the end of the decade.
And they didn't cash in because I don't think he cashed in. I mean, again, you look at that actual team, they spent money on Grandal, they spent 100%. Money on Keuchel, they spent money on Benintendi, but at the end of the day, they did not go out and get that franchise changer in what was possible in Machado and Harper. I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf can afford a $300 million plus contract, and now looking at Soto and Ohtani's deals, and even Vlad Guerrero got like $500 million. Didn't they agree to that?
They did.
Like Harper for $300 million, that's a steal. So, I mean, you could look back and that's the biggest mistake, is they didn't have a second meeting with Harper, and they were $25 million short of Machado. Maybe that really does change the franchise's run in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, but that's probably the biggest fault, at least of that iteration, because even though they did have a ton of things wrong with that entire front office with Jerry and Rick, they still built a 93-win team. You have a third baseman like that in Machado. I mean, what does that team actually become?
Well, and that was the other thing, too, is, we're doing a little revisionist history, but if you go back to that Astros series, when they were walking out of it, they let Rodon walk, and then you're asking yourself, are they going to replace him with another dog at the starting of the rotation? You know who those top free agent pitchers were that offseason? It was Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Who signed them? Steve Cohen, who had to punt on both those players after a couple years. So, I mean,
right.
Sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's what's available, but I'm not going to try and skirt or say that, make an excuse.
And you bring up the name that they actually just should have kept in Rodon.
Correct.
He was cheaper and better, and like 15 years younger than both of those guys. You didn't even have to let him go to San Francisco and meet Brian Bannister. Brian Bannister could have come here. Carlos Rodon could have been pitching for the White Sox.
And while we're at it, let's just say the words Tony La Russa. We'll just say Tony La Russa.
Yeah. Someone brought up Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa was just in Charlotte with Dave Dombrowski. Yay. Why? Anyways, this has been the main bit of the show. We got about 5 minutes left. If you have any thoughts, Joey will be able to share them in the comments below. Just to put a kind of period on this. This isn't something that I think we were expecting, but it's absolutely taken me by surprise. And I think the main reason that this is happening is because of the Chicago Fire's announcement for the 78. I think that Jerry Reinsdorf was still holding out hope for public funding for some bit of money from the state or city, and that just never came to fruition. And now with Mansueto saying, well, I have the money, let's just do that, I think that now Pritzker and Johnson have more to kind of settle in on saying, we're not going to give you any of this money. I don't really know what's going on with the Bears. It's kind of just a sickening situation. I think they're building in Arlington Heights. Arlington Heights is not in Chicago, so I mean they won't get any Chicago money from that. So I mean maybe they'll get something from the state, and maybe some of the money that they do have squared away for sports teams will go to the Bears project in Arlington Heights, just because that will bring March Madness, concerts, football, etc. So I just think Reinsdorf saw the writing on the wall that he needs money, and he's not spending his own money. He's going to be bringing in the Ishbias, who can get this job done. So I think that what White Sox fans want is money spent on the team, and I think what you're going to be seeing is money spent on a stadium. So this isn't exactly what White Sox fans want, but it's the process of what you want. And in 9 years, maybe we'll get what we want.
Well, just in terms of the Bears, when they do probably officially announce that they're going to move to Arlington Heights, we've already seen the political tug and pull that's already been going on in this city. I'm not saying that the mayor currently in office right now is going to be the mayor in the next couple of years. Who knows what's going to happen? But him and Lightfoot, they ran on this idea of we want to, as you said, keep these entities in Chicago to make Chicago, again, this. They're obsessed with it being a touristy place. I think it's the greatest city on the planet. You don't really need to advertise like that, but the White Sox could benefit from someone who wants to grandstand and take a victory lap of, I kept the White Sox in Chicago.
Well, you know where they could even grandstand a little bit more, Joey. The Bears are moving to Arlington Heights. Gee, I wonder where the city will want to use some of its park money. Like, you could take over that land. I would love new 35th and Shields over on the exit of, what is that, 55? Right on Lakeshore Drive. Like, you have a huge parking lot already there. You don't need that large of a footprint. You could just have
pretty good view.
Pretty good view.
Pretty
you
good
have
view,
the
I heard.
skyline right there. I think.
Ooh, could someone actually hit it into the lake? You know what I mean? Created a situation
well, that's
like
the
the
issue.
Giants.
That's the issue, though, is then you're pointing the park away from the skyline. You have to point it east towards the actual lake.
That's true. And then there's also this thing of everyone needs to build a village around their stadium now. And if there's a lake on one side of those 4 corner points, it's not exactly the way that they draw it up anymore these days, but a guy can dream.
And there is one comment here in the Die Hard Discord saying from AJ, I don't think it's a coincidence that the sale can only happen in 2029, the same year the Rate Field lease ends. Definitely not a coincidence. And again, that's why I think that this is about the private establishment of a White Sox stadium. And I think the next 4 years is going to be securing that plot of land, securing government contracts, et cetera, to then have that stadium going. Mansueto's announcing this Fire Stadium in 2025, thinking it's going to be open in 2028. So if they get their plans together in 2026, 2027, they can absolutely have this place built for 2030 for when the lease ends, and maybe they just completely abandon guaranteed rate. Also, guaranteed rate field is fine, or just rate field, sorry. Rate field is fine. It's just fine. So I don't even know if you need to knock that off. Tom Skelton says you need to build a train station to Soldier Field. You do, which I don't think is impossible. I think there is one part of the loop that cuts like right before Millennium, so you'd have to figure that out, which is going to be a ton of money, but that's also jobs that are being created in Chicago, so it's not the worst thing ever. Anyways, that is going to do it in the CHGO White Sox podcast. This has been an emergency podcast here on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We got over 100 likes. Thank you very much for watching and supporting this show. We appreciate you joining us for this news. I'll have a show for today's postgame as well. Sox and Tigers start in 1 minute. So I will go get myself in front of the TV and watch some White Sox baseball. We'll be back later to likely talk more about this transition and about Chicago White Sox baseball. We are here 3 days a week to talk about your Chicago White Sox. If you do want to join me, I'm Sean Anderson. My producer today is Joey Christopoulos. Thank you very, very much to Sarah Fichter as well, Emma Alperovich, Tony Gill, Jake Flanagan, and Jacob Franklin for their support in this show. Appreciate everyone for hanging out with us, and we will be back later today for a Sox-Tigers postgame. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.